The last Halloween night. The antique shop's bell chimed as Sarah pushed open the heavy wooden door, sending dust motes dancing in the late October sunlight. She hadn't planned to stop here, but something about the peculiar display in the window had caught her eye. A collection of vintage Halloween masks arranged around an ancient-looking leather-bound book. "Can I help you, dear?" The shopkeeper's voice made her jump. He was a tall, skeletal man with wire-rimmed glasses that caught the light at odd angles, making it impossible to see his eyes. "I'm just looking," Sarah replied, moving deeper into the cluttered shop. Halloween was tomorrow, and she still needed a costume for the party at the old Morrison house. Her friends had been planning it for weeks, determined to make their senior year Halloween memorable. The shop seemed endless, twisted aisles formed by towering shelves packed with curiosities. Sarah found herself drawn to a back corner where a single mask sat on a velvet cushion. Unlike the plastic ones in the window, this was different, crafted from what appeared to be aged leather, with intricate symbols etched around its edges. You have good taste." The shopkeeper materialized beside her. "That's a very special piece. They say it belonged to a hedge witch who lived here in the 1800s. Used it in her rituals, she did." Sarah reached out to touch it, and the leather felt warm beneath her fingers, almost alive. "How much?" "For you?" "Let's say $13. His thin lips curved into what might have been a smile. "A bargain for something so unique." Something told Sarah she should walk away, but instead she found herself counting out the money. The shopkeeper wrapped the mask in brown paper, his long fingers moving with surprising grace. "Just one word of caution," he added as she turned to leave. "Best not to wear it past midnight on Halloween. Old magic tends to be strongest then." Sarah laughed, but it sounded hollow even to her own ears. "Right. Thanks for the warning." The next evening, Sarah stood before her mirror, adjusting the mask. It fit perfectly, as if it had been made for her face. The leather was soft against her skin, and through the eye holes her eyes looked different, darker with flecks of gold she'd never noticed before. The Morrison house was the oldest in town, a looming Victorian mansion that had stood empty for decades until Jake's family bought it last summer. Music pulsed from within as Sarah walked up the creaking porch steps. Inside, the party was in full swing, the rooms filled with costumed teenagers dancing in the strobing lights. "Sarah, you made it!" Emma grabbed her arm, already slightly drunk. "That mask is incredible. So realistic." As the night wore on, Sarah began to feel strange. The mask seemed to grow warmer, and the symbols etched into it appeared to shift in the corner of her vision. The music became distorted, stretching into weird, discordant sounds. She checked her phone. 11:45 p.m. She headed for the bathroom, intending to take the mask off, but her fingers couldn't find the edges. The leather seemed to have merged with her skin. Panic rising, she clawed at her face, but the mask wouldn't budge. In the mirror, her reflection showed the mask's eye holes growing larger, darker. The symbols were definitely moving now, crawling across the leather like living things. Behind her, the bathroom door slammed shut on its own. 11:55 p.m. Sarah screamed, but the sound that came out wasn't human. The mask was changing, transforming her face underneath. Through the eye holes, she watched in horror as her normal brown eyes turned completely black. She could feel memories that weren't her own flooding her mind. Memories of moonlit rituals, of power drawn from darkness, of sacrifices made in the name of ancient gods. The hedge witch's knowledge, preserved in the mask for over a century, was pouring into her. 11:59 p.m. The transformation was almost complete. Sarah could feel the old magic surging through her veins, intoxicating and terrifying. Part of her knew she should fight it, but a growing part welcomed the power, craved it. Midnight struck. The bathroom door burst open, revealing Emma. "Sarah? Are you okay? People said they heard—" She stopped, eyes widening in horror. Sarah turned to face her friend, but Sarah wasn't there anymore. Something else looked out through those black eyes, something that had waited a very long time to return. "Hello, child," the thing that had been Sarah said, in a voice that carried echoes of centuries past. "Would you like to see some real magic?" The lights in the Morrison house flickered and died. In the darkness, screams began. Miles away, in the antique shop, the skeletal shopkeeper smiled as he turned the sign to "Closed." He had waited so long to find the right vessel, someone worthy of his mistress's power. Now, after all these years, she had returned. He began taking down the Halloween displays, humming an ancient tune. In the window, the leather-bound book's pages turned on their own, revealing symbols matching those that had been etched into the mask. The ritual was complete. The hedge witch lived again. And this was only the beginning. The next morning, the headlines would read, "Halloween Party Tragedy, Dozens of Teenagers Missing." The Morrison house stood empty once more, its windows dark and accusatory. Police would find no bodies, no signs of struggle, only a single leather mask lying in the center of the bathroom floor, waiting for its next wearer. Some say on quiet nights, you can still hear whispers coming from the old house, and sometimes, in the windows, shadows move against the laws of light. But no one goes near it anymore, especially not on Halloween night. And in town, a new antique shop has opened, run by a young woman with strangely dark eyes and an ageless smile. In the window, a collection of masks sits on display, each one crafted from leather, each one marked with ancient symbols, each one waiting for the right person to try it on. After all, there's always next Halloween.